Hello, and welcome to the PayFabric for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central Spring 2020 update. For this release, we have focused our enhancements on providing a stronger integration of payment records into Business Central. Before we get too far into new features, I wanted to note that all the new functionality shown for this release is available for any companies using the new Business Central 2020 Release Wave 1 version, otherwise known as Business Central version 16. Our first feature today is also our most highly requested feature from our customers, which is adding on the ability to process payments directly from a cash receipt journal payment record. To utilize this feature, first create a record in the cash receipt journal with a document type of payment and an account type of customer. Then select the desired customer and provide a negative amount. From the PayFabric menu, select the Sale option to open the PayFabric transaction window. From this page, select the desired payment method code to determine where the transaction will be processed. You can choose a previously saved method for this customer or use a new one. We will simply use the saved payment method on file and click OK to process the payment. Once we receive a transaction approval, this cash receipt record is ready to be applied to invoices or posted to the customer record. The next feature is very similar to the previous one, which is the ability to process a refund transaction against a cash receipt journal refund record. This method would be used when it is needed to refund money back to a customer. In the same way as the cash receipt journal payment, we will create a refund record in the cash receipt journal with a document type of refund and an account type of customer. Then we will select a customer and provide a positive amount. We will select the refund option from the PayFabric menu to open the PayFabric transaction window. This page is the same as when processing a payment, except this time we have an option to select if we want to use a reference transaction or not. A reference transaction is when a previously processed transaction is tied to a refund. In the rare event that there is not a previously processed transaction to be used as a reference, we can disable this option and provide a payment method for a non-reference refund transaction. But if we use the reference transaction, we simply need to select the previously processed transaction, and then the payment method used in the original transaction will receive the refund. Once we are done, we will go ahead and click the OK button to process the refund transaction to return the money to the customer's account. Our next feature allows for creation of a payment record for processed transactions on sales orders and sales invoices prior to posting. In our previous versions, our software automatically created payment records in the cash receipt journal for processed transactions at the time of posting the invoice. However, we've had a lot of requests from customers to add the ability to have the payment records be created prior to posting to allow the payment record to be recognized sooner, or to be able to apply the payment record to prepayment invoices. Currently on the screen, we have opened a sales order with a captured payment already processed against it. To create the payment, we simply need to select the Create Payment option from the PayFabric menu, and once we confirm at the prompt, a payment record will be created in the cash receipt journal. The system will then ask if we want to open the cash receipt journal to review the record, so we will agree to see the created payment record. Then we are free to do what is needed with the newly created payment record, such as apply it to other invoices or post it to the ledger. The final feature today is our Transaction Integration API. This API allows for applications processing transactions with PayFabric to bring those transactions into Business Central. A good example of how this API can be used is with an e-commerce web store. First, the customer fills their shopping cart with items and gets ready to make a payment. The store can then safely use PayFabric to process an authorization against the customer's credit card. Upon approval, the store would then integrate the customer's order information into a Business Central sales order using the Business Central API. Then with this new Transaction Integration API, the store would also be able to bring the information of the approved authorization transaction into Business Central. The integrated transaction record will now behave in the same manner as any transaction processed in Business Central. meaning it can now be captured or even reversed from Business Central using the available functionality of this application. This is simply one example of how this transaction integration API can be utilized. The PayFabric API empowers developers and software vendors to easily allow their applications to be able to process payments without having to worry about handling sensitive payment information. In addition, this new simple API allows for those processed payments to be recorded inside of Business Central. Thank you for your time and interest in this new release. We have provided a high-level overview of some of the main new features in this version. For a more detailed overview of the changes available, please check out our release notes, which will be available in the video description. If you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions for features you would like to see included in a future release, please feel free to reach out to sales@notice.com.